Welcome to Slow Fashion Talks, where fashion meets circularity.
Open our eyes a little gently. Hey, we're in the studio. So do you guys feel ready? Do you want
Yes,
a fire
sir.
or?
Thank you for
Let's
that.
do it.
All
Thank
right.
you. So nice.
All right, amazing. Welcome to Slow Fashion Talks. I'm Edward Veem. I'll be your host today, and I'm here with the founders, Ludvig Alervall and Clara Sandell. How are you guys?
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, doing really good. Happy to be here.
Yeah, exciting. First episode of the Slow Fashion Talks. And slow fashion is maybe a word most people think of a whole industry and how we're trying to retract our consumption and maybe use fashion in a more sustainable way. So maybe we can begin our slow fashion talks with what is slow fashion for you, Ludvig?
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a great point to start. For me, slow fashion is a whole lot of things. And where we come in with Slow Fashion app is the last part where we feel there's a missing link today when it comes to putting it back into circularity or to the circular system. So our job and our vision is to be this final link making a circular industry possible. And so just wanted to mention that slow fashion is so many beautiful things. And when it comes to designers, when it comes to how it's manufactured, innovations, what we're doing is the very last part, just ensuring the wheel is full.
Yeah, and I really like that because, slow fashion is this umbrella term for how we can slow down the fashion industry and reduce consumption and make it more sustainable. And I like how Slow Fashion, the app that you guys are behind, it kind of you took this whole term that's coined in the industry and like, okay, we're going to position our app here. And I think it's such an important part of modern society today to reduce consumption. And so the Slow Fashion app, how did you get involved, Clara?
Well, I think it was like 2 years ago that Ludvig contacted me on LinkedIn. So before, I've been working with marketing for like 15 years. I worked in fashion and beauty industry, and I've lived in different countries. So in Paris, and I'm from Finland originally. So I came here like 11 years ago to do my master's. And then I stayed. I worked at L'Oreal Luxe with like amazing luxury brands, and then ended up at Foreo building the brand. And then, yeah, now I'm here. And I also worked with some other startups before this. But
And what did that conversation look like? Did Ludvig reach out to you and say like, "Hey, I'm working on Slow Fashion. It's an app where we're gonna help people sell premium clothes through an app"?
I think it was more, more mysterious. Like, yeah, I'm working on something. Like, you look like an interesting profile. Would you be interested? But I actually have to go back to that conversation and see exactly what it looks like. But yeah, it was more like, yeah, you look interesting. We're doing something interesting. Like, are you interested? And and then for me, like, secondhand has always been like, before it was trendy, like now I've always been like buying and selling since I was like maybe 15. Standing in Finland, I would say it was maybe more popular. Like it's really huge. Even like in the Helsinki airport, you have like a secondhand store, which is pretty cool. Like you can see the trend. So there I was like selling and buying a lot of stuff secondhand and trying to make it trendy already then.
Exactly. And I think like what becomes evident with secondhand is this was my favorite secondhand purchase as well on Hagerbonn here in Stockholm.
Great place.
And it's a great place, again, kind of premium clothing, and I think that's also, it speaks to timeless design, right? That there is actually a way to design clothes in a way that we want to use them for generations. And I think both of you look very beautiful here today. Perhaps you have been thrifting a little bit, finding a little bit in the secondhand shops. Any specific items you'd like to point out here as favorite?
Okay. Yeah, should I? Okay, I can.
Fashionista.
So from like this outfit, I don't know if you can call it like a second hand. but it's quite funny. Like these jeans, they're like Levi's jeans, and last time I was at my parents' place, I found them at the attic, and I think they're like really from the 90s, like this real Levi's jeans. So it's kind of a secondhand, even though it's not purchased.
Yeah, and a slow fashion fact, it takes 8,600 liters of water to produce one pair of jeans.
Exactly. So it's good that I found them. I washed them
Yes.
up, but I was like, these are exactly what I would buy now. So it's like crazy, and it might have been mine or my sister's. So, and then the favorite are these shoes that I bought secondhand, and these I really like. It's Prada, like more desert boots. I wear them a lot to make any outfit cool.
Yeah, and when you say desert boots right now, my mind goes straight to Dune 2, which is out in theaters, and I'm a huge fan. Go see it if you haven't. I can really recommend it, because it also has this philosophy behind, like, oh wait, how can we turn our planet into a paradise? And it's very often based on, like, you know, using our resources in a smart way. And I'm curious, Ludvig, so you reached out to Clara, finding her an interesting profile and everything like that. For you, what was it that created that voice inside of you that said, I need to create slow fashion, I want to make an impact in this industry?
For me, I come from the fashion industry. I've been working with expansion in Europe, Middle East, a little bit in Africa for a Swedish brand. And what got apparent to me, the brand that I was working with was doing a lot of beautiful things and focusing a lot on sustainability. And when it comes still though to the linear fashion industry, it's like a conveyor belt. When products are just put on this belt keeps on going, and people can pick it out if they want to, but if they don't, it's just going to end up in the landfill or get burned or anything like that. So it was obvious for me from working in the industry that nothing happens really after outlets. I mean, retail store outlets, then what happens? There's a missing link in the industry. And there's a purpose that I found that, okay, take my experience from the fashion industry and be part of the change that I want to see.
And how about you, Clara? Do you feel similarly?
Yeah. Like exactly what we said. No, but I also feel like it's really important what we do, and like we need to use the resources we have on this planet, and like more people should think more about like buying quality over quantity, and that's, I think it's one of our main missions for at Slow Fashion. So we want these products to last for like years, like these jeans, like we want them to be circular.
Yeah, and I think, you know, exactly that quality over quantity is such a key concept, because I think too, you mentioned to me, Ludvig, that like 80% of people's wardrobes go unused. People use 20% of their wardrobes 80% of the time. It's this Pareto optimal effect that we always see in nature and even in human nature, right? And that just shocked me. But then I thought about my own behaviors, and I'm like realizing, yeah, probably I only use 20% of my clothes. And so, first of all, these clothes, they hang around in our wardrobes and they don't get to be worn. And, you know, but one challenge with secondhand is perhaps that you don't feel that trust, or maybe that same like spark of joy that, oh, I know this piece of clothing has been taken properly care of. And something that we've been talking about off the podcast is like, how do you nurture that in a community, the sense of premium quality, the sense of almost responsibility, and how do you guys see that this podcast or slow fashion can help foster that kind of behavior or that kind of attitude? Because I think it really boils down to how we want to decide to live, right? It's a very conscious decision. So how are we made more aware of it? And how will slow fashion help us understand our fashion choices, what looks good and trendy, but also how it can help the planet?
Yeah, so we decided to launch this podcast because we think it's a really good like outlet to reach our target audience, because here we will have a chance to discuss interesting topics and also invite interesting people who are like in the industry and can talk about circularity from different points of views. So I think that's why we chose to also use the podcast as an outlet. But then of course we have different, like we use social media in different ways to get our message out there, and also blog posts and LinkedIn and different outlets. But I feel also like podcast is really interesting, and it's also like a trend that's here to stay, it feels like.
Yeah.
So,
and I love podcasts too, just because it builds that relationship. You really have time typically to get to know the people behind the podcast.
Just a quick shout out to 21st Century Freak on everywhere you found podcasts.
Yeah, and that's my own podcast, which now has been a little bit of a pause the past 2 years, but probably will be initiated very soon. And how about you, Ludvig? How do you find the role of slow fashion, this podcast, in cultivating that sense of awareness and even maybe the behavioral change that you want to see?
Yes, going to the point that you said about 20% of the wardrobe is used 80% of the time, I think we can really make a big change there. I think it's the key doesn't lie, excuse me,
no problem.
Perhaps in getting people to use 100% of what they already have in their wardrobe. I think rather if we can get into circulation the non-used 80% of the wardrobe and ensure that this magical place called slow fashion is a place you can go and find the piece that you need right now in order to make your wardrobe complete. I think the key then is to just make our wardrobe smaller. Instead of just using all the things we have, we're still going to use the items that we do use every day. So the key to real change is that we actually get them to circulation. We call it a lot going around in the industry, calling it curated wardrobes. I mean, how you can kind of match and set your pieces so everything fits together. I mean, do you have a well curated wardrobe, then you probably only need 20% of what it looks today. If you can sell the rest 80%, you have an amazing chance to actually capitalize quite a lot of money that you then can also use to buy new things secondhand. So it becomes like this behavioral system when once you enter into the circular fashion industry, you don't have to spend any money even, because you start by selling things you don't need, use that money to buy things that you really need that could truly express who you are. And I mean, that's mostly found in different brands, in some limited edition items, in some things that might be like from the 80s, late 80s, from the 90s. So that doesn't come in next season.
Yeah, exactly. And do you have some other favorite thrifted items on you here in person today? Yeah. But a scarf from the 80s, you said?
It is from the late 80s. It's actually my mother's. And it's an Hermès scarf that she used to wear quite a bit. And then actually my sister wore it when she was around her teenage years. So it's been hanging around in the wardrobe back home. And I thought like, wow, this can't just only go all black. I thought I want to make something nice out of it.
Nice. Yeah, you look great today. And a concept that you've been like speaking to me about in terms of like the slow fashion app is, you know, like what is it that this app and platform really is trying to achieve and create? And something that really stuck to my mind was like, in a sense, you're trying to create an infinite wardrobe where, you know, not only are you, you know, narrowing down your items, but essentially you're trying to create that freedom to actually have those pieces of clothing that you've always wanted. And a way of doing that is not only by, you know, buying them and then keeping them forever, but this circular process that you're thinking of, like how does this fit my personality right now and what I want to express in my fashion versus how will I feel in a year. And what I think is so cool about slow fashion is really, you know, cultivating this mindset that we can create premium clothing, take care of it as, you know, consumers in a sustainable fashion as well. And it almost builds a community where also like-minded, you know, people who have that interest for fashion and to express themselves find a platform to constantly renew and also, you know, give life to clothes that have been hanging a long time. But yeah, the infinity wardrobe stuck to my mind. I know that this is not the entire slow fashion team here today. Do you want to tell us more about the people that couldn't make it here today?
We have Carl David Hagerbonn, which is the founding father of slowfashion.se. He's the chairman of the board of the company and part of the co-founding team. Then we also have Johannes Klint, which is our tech wizard, the one who's behind all the in-house code that we have when it comes to our app, when it comes to our website and everything linked digitally to what we want to create. So Johannes and Carl David says they're hi, and we're going to meet them a little bit later.
Fantastic. We look forward to it. It's been so nice chatting with you. Before we round off, is there anything you guys would like to highlight about Slow Fashion and the work you do that you think is important for us to hear about?
From coming from the fashion industry, the linear fashion industry, it's every new season you compete with your competitors. Okay, we need to selling more items. The feeling that I've got from the slow fashion community and everybody working with circular, sustainable fashion nowadays, it's very much of a team spirit. It's it's a cause and a purpose that is greater than oneself. Like everybody working with everybody we're talking with, if that's boutiques selling secondhand, if that's other platforms, if that's people just doing their own wardrobe, their own clothes. It all feels that we want to make a contribution to a more sustainable industry, because fashion is a way to express. Fashion is beautiful in so many aspects, and everyone on this side, so to speak, is very much holding hands in that movement, and it's beautiful to be part of it. So we're a part of it. We're not trying to like take over being the only place. We're feeling like it's a team effort, and I recommend everybody to kind of join this side because it's beautiful.
Yeah, I can only agree. Like, it's coming from like different industries where it's very competitive. Like, this is a really like beautiful industry. Like, people, as you say, like, we're in this together. We're like a community, and that's a really great feeling. So you feel like you're doing something good, and also like that's what we want. Like, we want to make pre-loved more like accessible to everyone. We want to make it more trendy, more just to make it more mainstream in general.
Yeah.
So that's the mission.
Amazing. And what comes to mind for me is it's almost this process of changing from the inside out, you know. And even in life, when we go through our own challenges, you know, so often we learn that this change actually has to come from the inside out. And it's beautiful to hear that there is a community within fashion that is leading that charge and change from the inside out. Because at the end of the day, I think, you know, it is the fashion houses, it is the industry itself that's going to make us more aware and conscious of how we can live in a more sustainable, circular way. And it's inspiring to hear that you guys feel that from the inside out. Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you very much for the first episode of Slow Fashion Talks. It's been wonderful to talk with Ludvig Alervall and Clara Sandell. In the next episode, you guys will be hearing from industry leaders that Ludvig and Clara have found, and perhaps you'll hear from me again. We'll see. It's the journey is young, and we'll see where we end up. But it's been a pleasure to be with you two and to lead this conversation with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.